So here's the crux of the thing, as I see it. We've been living a science fiction dystopian hell for the last couple of years. Some of us have had it worse than others. And some of us have managed to live fairly normal lives in spite of everything. But I don't think it can be denied that nobody necessarily saw what happened beginning in March of 2020, that nobody really saw that coming. I certainly didn't see that coming. And I don't remember anybody else talking like, oh yeah, here we go. Here's what's going to happen. And here's how it's going to happen. That just didn't, that seemed to elude everybody's, everybody's imagination, even those who were thinking of scenarios of possible dystopian future events. I don't think we saw it coming where, they would use a health crisis as an excuse to try to wreck the world. I mean, am I wrong? Did some of you see that coming? In the specific way that it came. I mean, I when I thought about there being some epidemic unleashed or something like that, that's something that, and suddenly, half the population is sick or dying or whatever, and that that it's like a new black plague. That was more something that you could imagine. You could imagine reading some dystopian fiction set in the near future where something like that is going on. But that's not the way that it took place. The way that it took place was they used this ostensible health crisis as an opportunity, as a pretext to take away our rights, supposedly only temporarily, of course. But we saw from this crisis just how tenuous our rights, our freedoms, our God-given liberties really, truly are. And we saw that those who are in power mostly don't give a damn about the Constitution that they swear on a Bible to uphold. To uphold. Because if they did believe in it, they would know that any ostensible crisis, health or otherwise, is not a reason to suspend the Constitution. And it's not a reason to forbid freedom of assembly. It's not a reason to force people to close up their businesses, or to make people stay indoors, to force people to put things over their faces, to force people to inject things into their bodies under penalty of law, under penalty of losing their livelihoods. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I never heard that it was coming, and at the time, I'm still shaken from it. A lot of people still are shaken by the fact that it happened, and it is still happening in some ways. I'm not saying it's totally over. So anyway, this was a circumstance in which, number one, they said, well, you don't have rights anymore temporarily, until we can flatten the curve, or whatever the hell else they were saying, all the crap they were saying, all those crappy slogans they were throwing at us, shelter in place. the whole, remember when people were saying shelter, you need to just shelter in place. Shelter in place was not an expression that was ever meant to be used in the circumstance of a so-called pandemic, where where the idea is you just go somewhere off by yourself and you stay there for however long they tell you to stay there. You stay in isolation. That's for days, weeks, months, years, possibly. That's not what shelter in place ever was meant to convey. Shelter in place was about if there's extreme weather, if there's a hurricane, if there's a tornado, you need to find some place where you can be safe and then shelter there and remain there, sheltering in place, maybe for hours, until the storm has passed. But they adapted that language, which was for severe weather, which wasn't meant to be, you've got to go imprison yourself. Oh, you've got to not see your friends anymore for however long we tell you not to see your friends anymore. Oh, you've got to, you've just got to keep away in your safe space. Keep away from everybody else. Stay home. Remember they would say, stay home. Don't fucking tell me to stay home. I'll go where the hell I want to go. Those were my thoughts at the time. But a lot of other people were, took it pretty seriously and were like, oh, well, yeah, we should do this. We should stay home. So the point is, what we've been through has been like a dystopian novel. We have lived through, we are still living through a dystopian novel. Even before March of 2020, the whole idea of, did any of us see this coming? If you saw this coming, then good for you. I didn't see it coming. But the whole idea of freedom of speech being abridged because we want to prevent misinformation. There's too much misinformation out there, and we need to stop so much misinformation from getting out there. So we're just gonna we're gonna make it so that the people who are saying these things that we call misinformed, but it's really just things that don't go along with your manufactured consensus. We're just going to take those people and make them be invisible. We're going to remove them from the platforms that they had previously been inhabiting. I didn't see that coming either. Like, the pretext of we've got to keep people safe. We've got to keep people safe. We can't let this misinformation spread. We can't let these bad ideas get out there, and we can't let people hear these ideas that we say are wrong, but really they're just the ideas that we don't like, because they're not the ideas that help us to further our agenda. But they don't say that, of course. They don't phrase it that way, but that's the way it is. So we didn't see that coming either. I didn't see that coming. I certainly never thought, when I first started hearing people talking about quarantine, when it was quarantine this, quarantine that, I never thought quarantine would come to mean everybody stay away from everybody else. If you're healthy, it doesn't matter. You still need to stay away from everybody else except those in your immediate family. That the quarantine and lockdown being used interchangeably, I guess, in that sense. Although I guess lockdown could also just apply to forcing businesses to shut down. Again, taking away people's rights to livelihood, taking away people's rights to continue with their businesses, all with this pretext of, well, all of that is trumped by the fact that we've got to keep you safe. We've got to stop this deadly disease, which wasn't a deadly disease at all. You know, a 99.7% survivability rate. But I mean, they never even hid that from us. they didn't even, the things they didn't lie to us about, you know. There are plenty of things they did lie to us about. They tried to jack up the death count. You know, we all know that. They did that in all kinds of outrageous ways. Somebody dies of a motorcycle accident, or somebody dies of cancer, and this microbe is found in their system. This microbe that has never apparently been isolated. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that they never isolated it, and yet we all know what it is and what it looks like? It's that scary spiky ball. Ooh, look at that. Don't fear the spiky ball. Anyhow, the fact that we've been through what we've been through makes it makes it seem less incredible that this group calling themselves the the Guardians of the Looking Glass, you know, could really be for real, because the kind of scenarios they're talking about suddenly don't seem so outlandish anymore, considering the way we've been jerked around so shamelessly, and so in the way that we've been lied to over and over again. And again, I don't like to use the word gaslit. You know, it's just an overly emotionally loaded word. But the way they've told us, you know, if you're against this, if you question this, you're part of the problem. I don't know how many times, you know, I probably got on too many threads, and I eventually learned my lesson. But I don't know how many times I got on threads and, you know, somebody said, I'm not going along with this. This is bullshit. This is nonsense. And then somebody else came along being a goody two-shoes and saying, well, you're the reason why this is going to continue. Because unless you comply, it's still, it's going to keep going on and on and on. Like, you can comply your way out. You can comply with tyranny, and somehow comply your way back to liberty again. We can't. The only way we can get back to normal is if you just do this outrageous thing, that outrageous thing, this other outrageous thing, this thing that violates your rights to free speech, this thing that violates your rights to freedom of assembly, this thing that violates your rights to protest what the powers that be are doing. Unless you just are willing to toss all that aside and you know, allow yourself to be traced, you know, contact tracing, all that became a thing. Again, we've been living through a sci-fi dystopia. So even if the Guardians of the Looking Glass is exactly what it seems to be, just a psyop or a LARP or something like that, and even if they were wrong about the first terrible thing that happened, but then I guess they can always say, well, that just means we averted the disaster in that case. So I don't know. They always have plausible deniability, right? Anyway, we're already in a sci-fi dystopia, and who knows where it goes from here. But I think hopefully a lot of us have learned our lesson at this point, that we don't compliance is death, and you're not going to comply your way. You can't comply your way out of a paper bag, much less out of a tyranny. So if they start asking you to do crap again that you know is wrong, and you know is deeply violative of your God-given rights and liberties, don't do it. Say, make me. Test them, you know? See what they do. See See if they've actually got the guts to actually force you to do whatever the hell it is that they're going to try to force you to do next. Whether it's send your sons to war, is that going to be the new thing? You know, we got to fight. We got to fight the evil Putin in Ukraine. Give us your sons. You're not taking my son, Buster. That ain't happening. I'm saying that right now. Anyway, I'll just leave it there. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. My name's Andy Nowicki. Please check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. Please check out my Substack page. I'm writing regular articles there right now. And please also check out my latest book, The Insurrectionist, which can be purchased from terrorhousepress.com. Thanks for watching.